Hi guys, welcome back. On today's episode, we've got Marion Berenhole. We've just worked out that we've been going to the gym that she works at, but we didn't actually realise, so that's quite a good link. We're going to catch up tomorrow instead. But today, we're having a chat with her. She's obviously a personal trainer. She works at a gym and an online coach, and she specialises in pre and postnatal fitness. She's a mom of two and has completed her first pro solo recently in Melbourne after getting hooked on Hyrox following the open solo that she did in Sydney back in July, where she qualified for Worlds in Chicago. So a great 2024. Marion reached out to us and we've been chatting for a while now. So it's amazing that we finally made this happen. So thank you for joining us, Marion. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I've been kind of begging you to be on there. I feel like more than you asking for me to be there, but yeah.
Oh no, it's awesome when people reach out and say, I know you've said you've listened to the podcast on your long runs and things, so it's really nice to connect with more people. That's what's so good about Hyrox. But I wanted to start with your background a little bit, just for our listeners, so people know a bit about your fitness journey and how you first started to get into fitness and then become a personal trainer onto specializing in the pre and postnatal.
Yeah, so actually very different background to all the other guests you've had, because I actually competed since a very young age in horse riding, in show jumping.
No way.
So that was the job of my parents. So I was born into the center of like competing, and there was no other choice. Like it was horse riding, nothing else. I was begging my parents to do gymnastic. I was finding excuses not to ride, but there was just no way out. It was riding horses before school, after school, from Thursday, competing every single weekend. And my parents were my coach, my idol as well. But they really pushed me on my childhood, I'd say, and then until I was 17 when I left home. But that's all I did was competing, and that's it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I love horses.
You know, my friends used to be jealous because they're like, oh my God, you're so lucky. You're riding all the time. And I was like, I was begging my parents, I wanted to go to church or finding anything else. But I was like, I loved it, but I just wanted to have a normal life as well. So
yeah, it's hard work.
Very grateful that I had that childhood, obviously, but that's definitely where I have that competitive mindset from a very young age, and competing every weekend, and just getting the buzz of competing.
Yeah, it's a big commitment as well. Like every day, every weekend, like discipline has obviously been kind of bred into you for training. Like
definitely. So that's where, like, I think when I enter something or when I set a goal, I love to do, like, to sacrifice for it. And like I say, unfortunately, I do nothing for fun, because everything become like really a big competition, and I don't want to fail myself. So I try to do my best, and I definitely have the discipline from back then, I think.
Yeah. And then physically, is it, I mean, show jumping is pretty physical, isn't it? Did you have to do anything? I'm guessing as a child, you probably just rode, but.
Yeah, I rode, but also my parents were quite strict with my diet. So, like, I think also I'm 38, so maybe previously, my parents were just like a little bit strict with my diet, and the fact that I was riding many horses a day would keep my fitness well maintained, I guess, as well. But I was not doing any other sport other than at school, because obviously the limited time. I was riding all the time, but I think it's really built a good strength in my back and core, definitely. But I don't have any ability in like team sports, soccer, or I've never been exposed to all this. So, yeah.
So then when did you decide to go down the personal training route? Was that later on in life, or?
Yeah, so what happened is that around 17 I left home, and then I kept riding a little bit, but it was really difficult, because obviously having my parents as coach, they had the structure and it was their job, so we were riding, competing, selling horses. That's how they were living. And then I started to work a little bit like just in a shop and finishing school and working also in a bar. And then I came to Australia at 21, and then I couldn't ride anymore. I remember going around and trying to ride, but it was just not the same, because I had to pay to ride to start, and not so great horses. So I was like, oh, and so I started to run and I walked into the first time into a gym. I think I would have been 24 years of age, so pretty old considering. And I remember starting doing spin, and I hated it. So I was like, what is this? This is so hard. I had not so healthy lifestyle back then. Like, I think the party was taking over a little bit. And then I remember seeing an instructor, and she was ripped. I was like, wow, she looks incredible. So I started to train quite hard, but being a little bit more cardio focused. And then in 2013, I decided to do a bodybuilding competition. I was like, I've got 9 weeks until that bodybuilding competition. I'm doing that. So I hired a coach. Back then, again, I feel like the diet was more chicken, rice, broccoli. So you've got 9 weeks to shred. And so I've done that, followed the plan. I was working in a bar at the time. So then I was starting work around, let's say, 11 a.m., finishing at midnight. I was training before that, going to a 24-hour gym after midnight, after that, to fit in cardio in the morning, strength in the evening, eating my probably 1,000 calories a day, not even on chicken, rice, and broccoli, followed the plan. And then I won. So then I was like, brilliant. So I won my first, it was fitness division back then. It was, the division was called, it doesn't exist anymore. It was INBA, I think. And so I qualified for the state, which was, I don't know, another competition 3 weeks after. So prepped for that again. And I became second. So then that qualified me for the national. So I was like, brilliant, another podium. And then I did the national where I became third. So I was like, oh, that's reminded me my childhood where I had podium all the time. And so, and then I gave up. I was like, dieting 24/7 is not for me. Had a rough bounce back of dieting so hard, had zero knowledge. So then I decided to do my PT course to understand what was going on, because reverse diet was not a big thing back then. It was it was like 2014 by then, I think. So really had really bad relationship with food, really bad body image by putting on weight, like lots of weight in a few weeks. My skin was terrible. My hormones were all over the shop, as you can imagine. And I started to educate myself, because that coach just coached me until the competition and nothing after, didn't give me any heads up. And so then, yes, became qualified as a personal trainer. And then I decided to work in the gym where I was working at. And I got a guest relation job. And I started to do PT as well, and coach, teach some classes such as body pump, spin classes, like all those HIIT classes and everything, and build up my clients a little bit through that. And after I had my first boy in 2018. So kept training all through my pregnancy. I had an amazing pregnancy, very lucky, could still like run until at least 20 weeks, and did all my training based on how I felt, but mostly felt really, really strong. And then I gave birth on Monday, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone, but that's how I felt. I had a beautiful birth, no complication, nothing. And then on the Saturday, I went for my first run. So I did an 8K run, I remember, and I felt just amazing. As I say, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless you feel really great and you know your body. And after, so then obviously you attract your clientele based on what's going on in your life. So I had a lot of pre and postnatal client coming, and I qualified, did a certification as a pre and post natal course. And so I quit my full-time role in a gym to really focus on only having personal training clients, and then started to train a little bit harder. And then what did I do then? I think I had my second child in 2022, and he is now 2.5. And I did a half marathon with him, actually, in the pram when he was 5 months old, because he wouldn't take the bottle. And I was like, well, there's no option. I could breastfeed before and then breastfeed after. So I did my half marathon with him. And that day, the year after, would be the full marathon. And I always say I would do one. So I was like, oh, if I did a half marathon with a pram, surely I can do a full marathon without the pram. And so I've trained hard for that. So then I had the base, I feel like, of the running and of the high intensity and strength, because I was doing CrossFit in parallel. So then I decided to heard about Hyrox, actually. And then I was like, oh, this is a great combo. Yeah. So that's how I feel like I went into Hyrox.
Yeah. But you've got such a varied background. I feel like you've done a bit of everything, and obviously once you've done something, you like to educate yourself on it. So you've learned so much from like the bodybuilding, and then being pregnant and having a baby, and the pre and postnatal, and then you've done run training. So like over the years, everything you've done, and then educate yourself like helps for the next thing.
Yeah, and I feel like also I am not talented with anything. So I feel like I'm the type of person where I have to work hard to get some results. So
but you're disciplined.
I have no option, if I want to do something well, to just work hard for it. I know just those people like, I just want to win like a 10K, and they're just doing their 10K in about an hour, and it's their first 10K. I was like, no, my first half marathon, I did 2 hours and 15, couldn't walk for a week. Like, I just feel like, and then I managed 1 hour and 34 in my last one, because I've been disciplined and just training hard for it. So yeah, built my experience through the years and through hard work as well, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. And then taking you back to just before we like touch on the rest of it, the bodybuilding, and you talked about the fact obviously you had a very restricted diet. I don't know how long you were on chicken and rice and broccoli, probably the sound of it like 9 months or something.
Horrible, yes.
But yeah, and then you talked about the bounce back, and obviously then because you've like restricted your calories so much that your body then like puts on the weight, and you didn't realize, and you didn't have a coach that helped you through that. How did you how did you get over that hurdle? Like for anybody that might be in a similar situation that's cut calories and is in this, you know, a bit of a sticking point where they don't know how to manage their nutrition and their energy output.
Yeah. Well, it was really hard. Like, it's like you constantly think about the food and wanting to have a switch in your brain, and just to switch it to stop, because obviously when you train for a bodybuilding competition, you have to eat, for example, every 2.5 hours or every 3 hours. The only thing you're doing through the day is working, looking at the clock, and just waiting for that time. So your brain is just prepared to keep on the same. But obviously when suddenly you have no goal and no plan, then you just want to eat everything all the time. So I feel like for me it was the biggest learning curve, because I know what a lot of people are going through, and it was just the let go and just eat whatever you want, because the craving is going to be there otherwise. And then it's I was lucky that when I had my pregnancy, I feel like it reset my metabolism, because suddenly you're eating to nourish yourself, and you don't think anymore about how many calories, and I need to do cardio to burn those calories and everything. So yeah, I feel like really the pregnancy was like a second chance for me to just take care about my health and about my body, and stop being completely like in jail of those thoughts about eating constantly. I feel like, if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And so now how would you eat now? Like for Hyrox, what do you do that you've changed? Obviously, because you're still eating for performance now as well, I guess, as well as health.
Yeah.
But how would you feel?
Now when I see food, I just know what I need in terms of, for example, a well-balanced plate for me would be like, let's say half would be carbs, but obviously would be like just clean carbs, nothing in like sauce and everything with moderation. Then like obviously I would have my source of protein, and I always say to my client, let's say like 2 pounds would be your carbs, and then 1 pound would be your protein, and then the rest would be colorful vegetable or salad. But now when I see food, I can just visualize and know what it would be. So I kind of eat whatever I want, because I don't have any more craving. Because if I want chocolate, I would have chocolate. I don't restrict myself to then come to Saturday where all mentality me was, it's cheat meal, so let's eat the whole thing of chocolate, and then you feel awful. And so now I just eat whatever I want, but obviously I'm not craving anything in particular by having everything in my diet. Because in the past, back when I was competing, my coach at the time told me no dairy. So therefore I had no dairy for probably, 9 months. And then what I've done is actually created intolerance to myself, because when I've started to reintroduce dairy, I just felt very sick and my skin reacted really, really bad, which is now I have dairy in my diet. I have everything, gluten, everything. And because I've reintroduced all this slowly. And now, that my body is just digesting everything perfectly.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So no restriction. I train hard, obviously. So that's what I say. The more muscle you'd have, the more calorie you'll be burning at rest. So therefore, you get away with eating whatever you want.
Yeah. And then it's good that you talked about carbs as well, because I think like a lot in the diet mentality, like everyone demonizes carbs, but for something like Hyrox that is, I know it's like it's an endurance sport, but it's also high intensity. Like you can't train and recover well without having carbs in your diet. You're just going to fatigue so quickly.
I know, and it's funny because a lot of people come up to me, like my client, they're like, oh no, I've been eliminating carb, I'm not having any carbs. So I've got, for example, a toast with half avocado. I'm like, you're aware that fat has more calories than carb per gram, like, so eat all the carb you want, just don't add all the mayonnaise and the oil and everything into it.
Yeah,
different
ways to do it, isn't it? It is like an education piece, and I guess in a weird way, by you going through the bodybuilding thing and the back of it, you've had like first-hand experience, which then allows you to then help other people, like relate to other people quite easily.
But it's very dark place to be in, so definitely dieting needs to, like, you have to be very careful who you listen to, and restricting food, you just create a big intolerance for yourself. So
yeah, totally. And then moving on to the pre and postnatal training, because that's your specialization. It was something that we wanted to touch on because we think it's super important and a great aspect for anybody that's either aspiring to be a parent, like or has just had children, is getting back into fitness, maybe they're pregnant at the moment. Do you have any tips for like training, nutrition, like maybe someone that's looking at Hyrox, like strength and running when you're pregnant or just after you've had children?
I think first of all, like, being pregnant is not a disease. I think it's amazing. Embrace it. There's so many studies that shows all the benefits, not only on the mom, but also like on the baby's heart, for example, like how strong the heart of the baby would be through doing cardio, and also the ability of the baby to build muscle if the mom does strength training. So there is some studies that shown that as well. And yeah, I think it helps with labor. It helps after. For nothing is light, like the podcasts or things, like everything is heavy. I'm like, how did people carry that not having done strength training?
Yeah, it's true. Even like babies get heavy.
Baby gets heavy, and then there's a lot of mom that have their wrist injured through just holding the baby when feeding, whether it's breastfeeding or bottle fed, doesn't matter. But I feel like so many moms come up to me, they're like, oh, my wrists are so sore. Like, here, because you have no strength at all. So I feel like it helps with injury prevention, labor, postnatal, and also mentally. I have no idea how people go through, like whether it's to be pregnant, after birth, without training. I would have become such a sad person. That was the only thing that kept me sane. Like, I was like, I need to train.
Even I guess getting outside with the baby in the pram, you see a lot of people, like, and we've definitely seen it in Australia, and you do see it back home as well, but people are probably wrapped up a bit warmer with like the pram and taking the kids for, you know, a big long walk, if that's what you can.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be a run or the gym, does it? It's just getting some exercise, getting out. And
no, but that's why also I've created my moms and babs classes, because I remember being like, I really wanted to train in gym, but also I didn't want to put like my really young baby into a crash of the gym. So then I created those moms and babs classes where they can come with the baby, and it shouldn't be having a baby shouldn't be a barrier to exercise. Like, they should be part of it, because then when they grow, they can see, and it's just normal. My sons are always like, oh, mommy is not going training today. Like, it's just part of the normality, and they're joining and they love it. It sets a great example. I think it's just great to just set it and not to be afraid of bringing your baby to, like, obviously child-friendly classes, but I think it should be open to any gym to have babies in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it's really nice to see when, like, we've been going about or at like mums and bumps classes, you see that sort of thing, and like you say, it shouldn't be a barrier to then you're able
and
to
a lot of my mom, they say this is the best mother group ever, because then after they go for coffee and everything, it's just built that great community, instead of just like, which is great as well, but sitting in the park, and they can come exercise. So many benefits, as we know now. Mentally, they get their exercise, they feel like some mom, like it's just their only outing for the day, and that's okay. But then after, they can go and have a coffee and chat about baby stuff, that's fine. But I feel like it's just so beautiful to see those moms just feeling confident again, and just feel like they've done something for themselves. Like, some moms just do everything around the baby, but prioritizing exercise 45 minutes a day, I found it's just magical for the moms to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what about for Hyrox? Like, if there was anyone listening that maybe has recently had a baby, like they've maybe started to do their comeback of training, and they've had their 6 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever to say, okay, you're fine to get back into it. Would you have any advice on how to kind of get back into running or get back into strength training, or anything they should maybe focus on in their core, that sort of thing?
Well, obviously, if they had here in Australia, we've got like a kind of a 6-week check by like a GP. I'd definitely check with a woman's health physiotherapist, to make sure that they're okay for running, and if they feel okay also for running after doing it, like all their pelvic floor strengthening exercise. But I feel like strength training is just helping also with pelvic floor. Like, there's not just the clams and glute bridge and all this. I feel like if you get a good base again with your strength training, then going into your running, I feel like what's amazing about Hyrox is that it's definitely open to anyone. I think I saw two pregnant women doing it in Melbourne, and and I think it's just amazing, whether it's single or you can do it double. And if they're fine with their pelvic floor when running, because that's the main issue, is that you definitely feel self-conscious, you feel like you're leaking and running. But once you feel like you're strong again to be able to run, then there is nothing you can't do at Hyrox. So I think it's a great goal to do, whether you want to do it for fun as a partner or even a single. I don't see why not.
Yeah, for sure.
And there were so many kids in Melbourne.
Yeah, there was. I know. And
so many prams. Yes.
It's cool that the top like females in the sport as well, like a lot of them are mums, and I think it like breaks that barrier where it's like, well, if they can do it, why can't
exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I've done so many of my sessions, like I was thinking, where I had to, for example, one of my sessions was like 1 kilometer run, and then I had to do burpee broad jump. So you would see me in the park just next door with my toddler, with my 6 years old on the bike, my toddler in the pram, and I was like running 1 kilometer, putting the pram on the side, doing burpee broad jump on the side of the road. My 6 years old waiting for me on his bike, being like, "What are you doing burpee broad jump on the footpath or something?" I was like, "Oh well, you got to do what you can do, and that's it."
Yeah. Absolutely. But I mean, getting them involved is perfect. Like, and then they see you setting a good example. They might wonder what on earth you're doing, but maybe in a few years they'll understand and maybe be doing it with you.
Exactly.
But no, I think it's great. And like you say, it is a sport for everyone. And we are seeing that with Hyrox for sure. All ages, all abilities, like.
And I think for moms, like, how amazing it is to like, because I feel like a lot of people think Hyrox of like an elite sport, but it's just the most inclusive sport ever, coming from horse riding, where if your parents are not in the industry, you have to have kind of some cash behind you. So then I feel like, oh my God, finally I found a sport that can be open to anyone. So definitely to be able to compete as a new mom, it's great. It's a great feeling, but nobody should be scared of entering their first Hyrox, I feel like.
I agree. And that was like one of the things we wanted to do with the podcast was obviously it's amazing to speak to the elites and speak to the guys at the top of the sport, but it's also amazing to speak to like everyday athletes and people that, you know, are doing different things, and like the adaptive categories and people like the badass Grand who's like 70, and like it's just awesome to get like the whole community and see that it's for everybody. It isn't just the elites at the top of the sport. That's just the televised bit that you see on, you know, YouTube or the majors. But actually, if someone goes to a Hyrox, they'll see that there's like, you know, in the UK at the moment, there's like 15,000 people like doing it over a weekend. Like,
it's mad. And I love the last guest you had also with the daughter and the mom. Like, I mean, there is incredible stories. Like, it's
opportunity to do it. But like other sports, what other sports can you do? I mean, I know you can run but you don't compete together, do you? You can run together, but like competing together and splitting exercises and stuff with a family member, like mom, daughter, or dad and daughter, or something like that. It's super cool. It's got loads.
It's really amazing.
And then I was going to ask, so you did the open solo first, and then went on to do the pro solo in Melbourne. For anyone that's listening and has maybe done the open and are thinking about doing the pro weights, like, do you have any advice or maybe share your experience of how it went? Because it's a big jump from doing open, especially if you're maybe more of a runner, to then going to do the pro. The weights get a lot heavier. How did you adapt your training, or how did you find the difference with the weights?
So for the open in Sydney, my main focus was the marathon straight after Sydney Marathon. So I was trained, obviously, running a lot, doing my CrossFit classes, doing mainly Olympic lifting. I wasn't doing especially heavy. So I feel like I didn't train for Hyrox, but I did it. And then when I came second, I was like, oh, wow, like, this is great. I didn't expect it at all. I didn't even know, because doing the single, I thought I had to do 500 meter on the ski. So when I finished the ski, I left the station and the guy was like, no, you need to finish it. I was like, no, I'm doing a single. And then he's like, yeah, the same for everyone. I was like, no, I'm not doing double, I'm doing single. I was like so sure that I had to do half of the stations. So then I had to go back and finish. I was like, oh, damn, that's mean also I've got 1,000 meter on the rower. So because when people were like, what time do you expect to do in Sydney? And then I was like, oh, probably about 55 minutes. And then people were like, oh, wow. And then I was like, there's nothing wrong about doing 55 minutes if I've got 500 meter on the ski, 500. Then I was like, oh, that's why everybody kept on saying, like, oh, you're planning on going fast. Yeah. So I had no clue how well I did when I did it in 110. And then I was like, okay, I need to. So then that's qualified me for Chicago. And then I saw there was one in Melbourne. So I was like, okay, I'm going to train really hard for this one. I have a 12-week, hire the coach, 12-week plan, and I know the course, so I shouldn't waste any time. So I really, really trained hard for Hyrox Melbourne. And I was like, because I've trained hard for it, then my goal is to do pro weight, but to do my open time. So I had 110 in my head. If I do less, great, but not allowed to do more. And that didn't go to plan. that's 19 later, I was like, okay, very humbling experience. Maybe I should reassess that. The weight is just a massive jump. It's crazy. Yeah.
I think
lunges, it's killed me when I was flying through the lunges in the open. Yeah, everything, it's just really, really hard. So I definitely say strength, heavy squat, heavy deadlift, for as part of the prep for pro weight is definitely crucial.
Yeah, I think especially the back end of the race with the lunges and the wall balls. You think like, oh, 2 kilos in the wall balls, 4 to a 6 is not that much, but you're doing 100 of them.
I was going, because I've only trained with 9 kilo wall ball and I've done over 100 unbroken at home. So then I was like, there is no other option. It's 100 unbroken wall ball. And there I am with a 6 kilo on the day. And after 5, I had to drop it. So then I got to 35 in probably like 3 minutes. I don't know, I felt like it was a lifetime. I was like, I'm only on 35 wall ball, and I dropped it at least like 10 times. I was doing 5 and 3, and everybody around me just kept on finishing. I was like, oh my God, like how long has it been? And yeah.
So many people can relate to that. Yeah. So many people.
Couldn't move anymore. I was like, no, like that wasn't the plan at all. Couldn't. Yeah.
But yeah, the accumulation, isn't it? The accumulation of the weights throughout, plus the running, like
and the sled pull is just takes forever.
Yeah, it's a very different race. I think it is like it's crazy. It's like both Hyrox. It just definitely changes the race. Where like an open race is definitely more like aerobic and like the runners. It's a runner's game, and then if you don't have the strength, you can be a great runner, but like the stations can really stop you on the pro if you don't have the strength to do it. But yeah, so do you have any tips to anyone that might be listening like right now? I know you said like focus on like heavy deadlift, heavy squat. Anything else you would recommend if someone's anything for your running? Would you keep the same run splits and try and do the same kind of run training? Or
yeah, for me it is more the build-up of the lactic acid. I really struggle of that sled push straight into the run. So one of your previous, I think, guest has mentioned something, I can't remember who, but it was really great tip where you got to run fast straight away, because in my head I'm like, okay, let the legs, well, because I can't move anyway, so let the legs recover a bit, and then I pick up the pace. When I can't remember which guest said, no, run fast straight away. So
and that's what JK does, doesn't it? Like James Kelly was the one that like originally said like just
I feel like that's what I'm going to implement in my training session, because that's really what I'm struggling with, is like finishing that station, and in the rock zone I must take forever, because I feel like it takes me quite a few seconds to be able to move again. So I think really training like assault bike, straight into the run, straight into the wall ball, like just getting used to that. And unfortunately, I feel like age doesn't help.
No, I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
I'm 38, and I feel like I need to work on a lot of also my recovery. So I've got again 9 weeks until Hyrox Brisbane, and I will definitely have to be a little bit more careful with my recovery. I've had like a few like hip like niggle and the cramping, like, so I just need to be smart about it rather than going hard all the time. So that's good. That's going to be the goal: recovery, heavy training, and also like those quick transition from one station to the run and back. Yeah.
Good. And then what about the mental side of things? So you obviously have very good mental strength. You're very disciplined. Is there anything that you say to yourself in the race to keep you going, keep you pushing, or the reason that they're doing it? Like anything you tap into on the mental side?
Yeah, I really go into my own like bubble, let's say. So I've got a very strict plan for in the warm-up area. And then when coming into the tunnel, I just visualize like all the run, and that's what I did in all my racing, whether it's like on the marathon, just visualizing, just finishing, and feel that like for Hyrox it would be to visualize every station, every run. I've got it in my head, and I keep my nerve really down. I feel like suddenly I go into this comfort zone. And there's one thing I just kept on telling myself in Melbourne is I am running my own race, because I can go hot by seeing everyone go hot on that outside of the tunnel. And I'm like, oh, I'm very tempted to keep with everybody. But I had my plan, which didn't go quite to plan, but in terms of my pacing through the run, because you don't know what their plan is. It's probably to go hot at the beginning and then to go a bit slow. And I'm more like a long distance where I can maintain a certain pace for a long time, but I can't go fast for a long time. So my why, definitely, like I write my kid's name on my arm, because that's time away from the family. I'm not sponsored athlete, so obviously it's like spending a lot of money into doing all this. And I remember also all the sacrifices I've done, whether it's socially, family, everything, to be able to be there. And also I remind myself that it's my own choice to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful to be able to be competing and to be running and to be part of this awesome community and to expand the atmosphere. So it's all those really positive thoughts that comes into my head, and I'm doing it definitely for the win, but also because I choose to be there.
Yeah. And what about when, like, for example, you know, two times. So the first one, when you thought you only had to do 500 meters, like half the stations, like how do you get your head back in the game and go, okay, cool?
No, I was sure he was wrong. I was like, I'm in the wrong division. I'm doing a double on my own, because also on the mat in front of
they still have the doubles mat.
It's written double. So then I was like, where are those skis? I'm in the wrong zone. Like,
it's confusing, but they just have them out. If there's a doubles partner, that's where they stand. But if you're on your own, you just ignore it.
So then I was like, no, I'm in the wrong one. Like, I was like, so then I was like, fine, I'm just gonna do it. So I kept on doing the race, thinking I was in the wrong one. So I just like, I'm right. He's wrong, but I have no choice. So I just went back, kept pushing, because obviously I finished first on the 500 meter. So then I was like, great, I'm already the winner. So then my goal was to catch up with everybody again.
I mean, they might come out with a half Hyrox race and then you'll be right in it, won't you?
Yeah.
That'll be your one.
But then I'm still finding a solution for that. And if anyone out there can help me, is I'm cramping like crazy through both races. I've never experienced cramping in training. I've experienced it through my first marathon, but my calves and my quad muscle just cramp like crazy through the run, like from run 3, both, whether it's open division or pro. I'm just cramping and just can't pinpoint what the reason. So I'm still trying to manage that.
Yeah,
And that's really hard.
A good one, isn't it? I mean, you take electrolytes and stuff, I'm guessing, and hydrate well the week before leading up to it.
So then I'm trying to analyze where I'm trying to understand the pain, where I'm like, okay, it hurts. Is it bad to push? So I'm really at that limit where I'm like, it's really, really hurts. It's gonna snap. And mentally, I'm trying to understand that pain, if I can push and just manage to push through each time. And but it's just trying to understand the pain you're going through, because obviously I feel like your mentality would always tell you to stop before your body could always push harder. That's what I'm telling myself. And I'm like, and if it breaks, it breaks.
It's hard to it's true though, and it probably comes with experience and doing different challenges and things, knowing whether you can push through and it's just whether it's a pain that's going to be an injury, or whether you can push through the pain that's just an uncomfortable pain.
It is very uncomfortable.
Sometimes it's hard, and when you're in a race, obviously you have to make that decision on the hoof, don't you? If it's training, you can probably stop and have a second and work out whether it's right, but in a race you've got that decision. Do I carry on or do I stop?
And I always relate the pain with labor, because I did natural labor with both. So I'm like, is it that painful?
I mean, that's a good one to compare it to, I guess. So you're never gonna stop, are you?
I feel like I go into that same mindset where I did like hypnobirth, and I feel like that helps me also with going through the pain on race day, where I just go deep into my thoughts and just push through and actually try to enjoy the pain, if that makes sense. That's
what Ida said. She said she enjoys the pain. She gets into it and then she enjoys the pain. Feels the pain and accept.
I know. I actually start to like it. It's like, don't you remember the first time doing burpee? Like, I'm sure you hated it, right? And now I love it. It's I feel like it's just learning to love what hurts. I don't know,
accept it and just move with it, and just instead of battling against it.
Exactly.
Cheeky insights. Should we go on to
we do it?
Yeah, we've got 8 questions for you for the end, if you're ready. We will kick off with, what shoes do you wear to race Hyrox?
So currently I'm with the Puma Deviate Nitro. I think the 3 is that.
That was the most common one, I think.
Yes, so that's the only reason why I went with it, and I've tried them. I like them. I really liked, I'm very naughty. I run with a carbon plate. I cannot go back to a normal plate
all the time, all your runs.
I just, when I go to put my shoes, I've got normal one as well.
The cramp. This is what this is going to be related to your cramp.
Probably. So I need to just 100%. Put them away, because I run in Nike Alpha Fly, and I just love that feeling of the push. So I need to put them away, lock them, and just run in my everyday shoe. But yes, for Hyrox, I run in the Puma, which you have to be careful. I feel like a lot of people say keep them for race day, but for me, they push me forward a little bit. So for the burpee broad jump, I feel like I had to train in them, because the bouncing forward was hard to adapt, and same with the wall ball, they were pushing me forward a little bit. So I had to do quite a few sessions at home before racing in them. So for a little insight of anyone wanting to change shoe, trying to do a few training sessions like Hyrox style in them, maybe.
Yeah, because it is a different like
they like rock you forward.
Yeah, they rock.
They push you forward,
yeah.
so it was really destabilizing, like for the burpee especially.
Yeah, I definitely always say like try them out. You don't have to keep them box fresh and get them out on race day. Like you do need to try.
No, you need to try them, and not just for running, also for the exercises. Yeah,
exactly. Very good point.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is, which is your favorite Hyrox venue?
So, I mean, not only done two, but Melbourne was incredible.
Yeah.
I loved it. The shop in the middle, like there was nobody on the runs. It was just really, everything was incredible. Like the organization was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, definitely Melbourne for me.
Yeah, it was a really good venue.
I agree.
Really
so
good.
well organized.
Yeah.
And the location, how great.
I know. Yeah.
It was so nice to be on South Bank. Like, great. Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Okay, next one. Which is your favorite Hyrox station and why? Is she gonna say burpee?
Before Melbourne or no? Before Melbourne was the wall ball.
Wall ball until I went to pro.
Yeah. Well, now definitely no. I'd say lunges.
Okay.
Lunges, I like the lunges. The two, funny enough, would be the sled push because I like that short, intense pain, but it's quite short. You're like, okay, 3.5 minutes. You can do that. You just push through. Push, keep pushing, and that's it. So I didn't stop from the start to the end, and just constant slow pace. So yeah, just in between lunges and the sled push, I'd say. Yeah.
For the lunges, do you do a step through or like?
No, I do. Yeah, I do a little stop in between. Yeah, definitely. I try to take just a normal step and then step in between, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, next up is, if you could do a doubles Hyrox with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would you choose?
So I feel like I would choose a mom.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you've had that answer before, but I feel like Tia Claire would be a pretty
good... I know.
Yeah.
I think everyone wants to be our partner now, don't they?
I just let her push and pull the slide. I do the running.
Yeah, definitely.
I would find it hard to keep up with her, but yeah, just like because obviously she's just amazing. Otherwise, I was thinking another mom, Sarah Holden. She's Swedish. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like I've just been looking up to her like for quite a few years during my postnatal journey because her little boy is similar age as my oldest. So it's just been looking up to her, and I feel like that would be cool as well.
Yeah. Well, you'll be in Brisbane with Tia, so maybe just see if she fancies another doubles race, you know? You might get a last-minute ticket.
I'm sure nobody would have asked her. I don't know if I've got enough money to motivate her.
Okay, next up is, do you fuel for Hyrox? And if so, what do you use and when do you take it in the race?
So just before, I feel like it's more a placebo thing, but I take a gel, and then I have a gel on me, which in Sydney I didn't feel like I needed, so I didn't, but in Melbourne I couldn't wait to get that gel down. So yeah, definitely I had a gel. I stopped at the water stations, I did it all. So yeah, I take a couple of gel, one before and just one during. I think it was just like during runs, 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Different races, different nutrition needs.
Yeah, so always have it on me because I've got those shorts with the pockets on the side.
Yeah, so
I hear a lot of the girls say like they put it in their bra and then they lost it. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, you don't want to lose it. I'm like, no,
I don't want to slip on any.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Next one is, what's your favorite type of Hyrox, like training session for Hyrox?
Yeah, I love a really good gassy, sweaty, like pain cave kind of session, incorporating like wall balls, just like kind of, for example, a half Hyrox kind of thing. I don't really do I don't do any Hyrox like copy, if it makes sense. Yeah, simulation. I've never done that, but I love like good assault bike, straight into wall ball, straight into running. Like I try to train like that more when doing my high intensity stuff.
Yeah, like grind it out for like 40-45 minutes or something like that, with loads of different movements and some running and
yeah, but definitely don't do the Hyrox simulation. No.
Okay, perfect. Next one is, why should someone sign up for their first Hyrox?
Oh, like you've had probably that answer before, but definitely the atmosphere. That's definitely surreal. The people you meet, like, it's just so nice. But also to realize that you don't need to be an athlete to actually do Hyrox. You can do it, like as we said before, at any kind of fitness level, and to realize that it's for anyone.
Good answer.
The atmosphere for sure. It's got like, if you've not been to one, even if you just go as a spectator and you first walk in, you're like, wow, this is
exactly. Also go as a spectator if you're intrigued by it, and realize like some women or men, like the age as well. And also there was how they call it, the adaptive category in Melbourne. Like it was just so beautiful to see. It's just beautiful to see. And also I'm the first one to see, like it's so good to see people having a goal and training for that, whether it's hard or like 3 times a week or just going for a little run. And I feel like it's just building so many like people to actually like train, and it's so beneficial for their mental health. I feel like confidence, everything.
It definitely helps to have that race as a goal. Like it doesn't mean you have to race the race, it's just to complete it.
Exactly. And you can do it with a friend, you can do it with a family member. So
something
that's cool.
Calendar. Perfect.
Yeah, or you can get away from your kid for a weekend. How cool is
We've
that?
We've had that one a few times for some mums, haven't we?
Good excuse.
I know, it's like, I'm going to Melbourne with you. I'm like, on my own.
Love it. Okay, lastly then, is there anyone that you would like to see us interview on the podcast, or a type of person in the Hyrox world that you would like to find out more about that we can try and get on?
Well, I feel like I mentioned them, but Tia Claire would be a good one. I know she doesn't do many interviews, but it would be pretty cool to have her. Also, Sarah Holden, especially after she had like that pulmonary disease.
Lung disease, didn't she?
The lung disease.
So
I feel like she did a comeback in like the fitness pretty quick, and obviously because they're mom and I know they're sponsored athletes, but still it would be cool to see to hear their even thoughts about Hyrox and how they train and how they manage with kids and everything. I feel like
that's too. I mean, I'd love to chat to Tia. We'll try. Put a good word in for us at Brisbane.
Yes.
I know, but no, 2 very strong females, like both got kids as well. It's amazing in the sport. There's some really inspirational, like,
and I feel like
men and women, but women for sure.
And I feel like they also both shown to a lot of people that training when pregnant didn't do any harm whatsoever to their babies. So I think it's great to advocate for that. Because there's a lot of misconception around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's a good thing about social media, is like more people are having get the awareness and see different people doing different things, rather than, not saying it's wrong when you just go to your doctor or your GP, but they're always going to be cautious because they're never going to say, go down the gym, and because if something happened, it will come back.
Exactly.
So it's cool to see like people that are pushing or doing something slightly different. And
and I understand some will have to be in bed rest, and that's like it's
situational. everyone's different, aren't they? And
exactly. But if you can, oh my God, take the opportunity, just do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Like, hopefully, yeah, you've helped out some mums or people that maybe are thinking about doing a Hyrox, but they're not quite sure and they didn't know whether to jump into it. And maybe you might have just given them the confidence to think, yeah, maybe I can go and do it.
Definitely. Yeah.
No, absolutely love that, Marion. Where can people reach out to you or follow you? And
Instagram, just with first and last name, Marion Berenhole, and I've got most of everything there.
perfect.
Yeah. Would that lead to like some of your coaching, or if someone wanted some help with pre or postnatal things?
So I've got the link tree there, and so I do online coaching, whether it's pre postnatal, trying to dive a little bit more also into doing online like Hyrox performance like coach, and having the experience now and learning about the whole training around it, and also doing face-to-face clients based in Maryborough in Australia, and I do moms and babs classes as well, Monday, Wednesday and Friday.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
that's awesome.
We'll link your Instagram handle in the show notes, so anyone listening can find you, and if they're in Australia can come to a class, but if not, can reach out to you online for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been absolutely awesome.
Can't wait to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll come train with you tomorrow.
Hopefully it's a spicy session.
Yeah, it sounds like there might be some assault bike or something, maybe.
I don't know. I'm not.
Hate the assault bike.
I have no insights.
For everyone listening, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it on your socials. Give the podcast a follow to help us get more inspirational guests and guests from different disciplines that can help us with things like today, like the pre and postnatal. And we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Marion.
Bye. Have a good day.